Hello YouTubers, it is of course I, Toothpaste the Man, and welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be polishing amber again. If you guys had seen my other video, which I will link in the description below, I had made some polished amber pieces using nothing more than some raw amber, like this, and sandpaper, a cloth, and a bit of toothpaste to make these amber precious stones. That video surprisingly had gained a lot of popularity, even though if it was just supposed to be sort of a side project video, not really a main project video, more of a curiosity, but ended up doing very well. And one of the people ended up seeing that video actually said that they wanted to send me a piece of amber that they had purchased and see what I could do with it. This person very graciously sent me this rather sizable piece of amber probably over a year ago, but because of things being so crazy, I have not gotten around to polishing it or doing a video on it, which is unfortunate because it was very nice of them to do and I feel kind of bad about it. But this is where I rectify it, because today we are going to be polishing this hopefully into something cool. Now, this was sent by someone named Miles from Saskatchewan, Canadian province. Am I pronouncing that right? Saskatchewan? Anyways, that's how he asked to be credited. Originally, I think he didn't even want to be credited, but that's what he agreed upon eventually. This was supposed to be blue amber, which is a rare type of amber. However, when I originally looked at it with a flashlight, give me a second, I'm going to grab a flashlight. When I had originally looked at it, under a high-powered flashlight, I really didn't see any good indicators of that mythical blue amber color. More of just a traditional, well, amber color. However, under brighter light that I am now, so I thought maybe it was sold as blue amber when it actually wasn't, but under brighter light now, I might be able to, especially in these darker areas, see like the slightest bit of blue or green hue, so it might actually be blue amber. When we polish it, we should be able to see a lot better. So again, today's video is going to be about polishing this and hopefully making something that looks good. I'm not going to claim I'm a professional. I've only done a few curiosity pieces, but by no means am I like a professional amber polisher. So this is going to be just as much of an exploration and a journey for me as it will be for you guys watching. I'm not going to be using any specialized tools, just like with my original amber polishing video. I'm going to use just things that I have readily available, and most people will have readily available too. The first of which will be sandpaper. This is just some 220 grit sandpaper. So to start, all I'm going to simply do is start shaping this amber using the sandpaper. And we're going to actually lose a lot of material because this amber has such like very coarse and like rough texture on the surface. So I don't know how much we're going to end up with in the end, but we're just going to kind of work with the different angles and try and get something interesting here. So I'm just going to try and make some of these angles smooth and stuff. So this will in fact take a fair bit of time, so I'll kind of try and check back at checkpoints. I'm going to actually save this amber dust in case I ever get around to doing a PCRT amber in the future. So as I'm sanding, all I'm kind of doing is trying to work with the angles as they form. So as I sand a side flat, sand another side flat, and again, maybe like right here, I'll try and get this to be a straight angle. Just kind of work with those to help, again, try and conserve as much material as possible. So like if I make this flat now, I could probably make, like now if I have this flat, I probably could make this flat too. Again, I have no idea what I'm actually doing. I'm just doing it. You probably could wet sand this, but I'm just dry sanding because I want to keep it in a powder form in order to collect easier. Yep, so you see now that's like a flat edge. And then I'm just going to continue to refine the shape and try and get out as much of the pits and things that I can reasonably. I'm probably not going to go all the way though, because the truth of the matter is if I did go all the way down like into here to get rid of the pits, I'd be taking off like this much more. Over here I'd probably also be taking off about that much and so forth. So I'm going to probably just try and get most of it and leave the rest. To be honest, the imperfections might actually make it all the more unique because not everything needs to be perfect. I'm looking at right here, and this honestly looks like this could probably make for another face too if I do this. And there we go. We got another little face there. Again, I'm just gonna keep refining the shape. So, a little progress point. This is what it's looking like so far. I had just rinsed it off with some water to get the dust free, and we're exposing some of the amber underneath, along with giving it a slight, very slight, like dull polish with the sandpaper. And I am actually, I believe, seeing some blue. So, I don't know how well you guys will be able to see it on camera, but to me, I definitely do think I see a little bit of a blue hinting in some of the areas, like a bluish green hinting, which definitely could indicate that this is, in fact, blue amber. For the most part, though, it has very deep red-ish amber color. So, I'm excited to see how this is going to turn out. So this right here is not a new piece of sandpaper. The truth of the matter is that sandpaper does wear out eventually, and I can feel that the center is definitely not as gritty as the edges are where it hasn't been used, but it still has a fair amount of grit to it. What I did do though, is because this is 3M wet and dry sandpaper, is I just simply washed it off under some hot water real quick. Sometimes particles of whatever you're sanding get down inside of the grit and it just simply stops it from being able to cut as well. So occasionally rinsing off sandpaper that's able to be rinsed off can actually help it refresh a little bit and things to cut quicker. But again, eventually you might just need to switch to a new piece of sandpaper because they do wear down eventually. I think that is going to be the shape that I go with. I'm not really going to try and go any deeper with these imperfections because, again, I would just take away so much material. And there's no guarantee that as I go deeper, I'm not just going to come across more craters and stuff. As you can see, we took out a lot of material here from this piece already. Let's, I got some water here. Let's see how it looks with a little bit of water to clean it up. Now you could, if you don't like the sort of angular shape, you definitely could like to take the sandpaper and round off those edges. I'm gonna actually just keep it like that because I'm interested to see how it's going to end up looking. I'm gonna wipe this off real quick. Again, the whole reason why I end up doing all those faces is so that way I can try and conserve as much material as possible. And again, you could just, if you don't like the fact that there's lines there, just sand those smooth, roll them out, and make it look more natural. But I'm all right with this, to be perfectly honest. So glows a lot more now. There's more of the actual amber exposed. that is pretty neat. There's some pretty cool swirls in it. As you can hopefully see pretty decently on the camera. Alright, so I just got done with the 400 grit. Again, my main goal was to get as much of the scratches from the 220 grit out as possible to make the polishing easier. Dump that off again. I take this now, I just dip it real quick in some water, and then I just wipe it off. We're starting to get a little bit of a soft sort of finish on it. I am seeing a bit of that green color, but I mean it's very dark. It's not super pronounced, but we'll have to see when we actually get to the point of getting a good polish on it. You definitely could at this point just use like some toothpaste or polishing compound. Toothpaste has really fine grit in it, which is why it can work for this, but you could use some toothpaste or polishing compound and just use a rag and polish it like I showed in my previous video, which I will link. But I'm going to take some of this Auto Body sandpaper, which is 800 grit, and I'm going to use that to, again, just try and sand out the scratches from this 400 grit and make the polishing step go by even quicker, because the more prep work you do, the better the finish usually looks and the quicker finishing usually goes. So same process as before. I'm just going to be using this to, again, take out all the scratches I can from the 400 grit. 600 grit might be fine too, and it'll be a little bit easier to find, but yeah. Alright, I think I'm going to be done now with this 800 grit. I did actually do a little bit of wet sanding, which just involved a couple of drops of water onto the sandpaper. Basically, it helps keep the sandpaper grit cleaner. It helps lubricate the actual contact between the sandpaper and whatever you're sanding, and just helps it cut better and everything else. You can see that even though this was just against the sandpaper, that I can literally just wipe it off, and it has a very dull polish on it. But there's pretty much no scratches left behind from the previous sandpaper, so this is going to make it really easy to finish up with either just cloth. You could literally just take cloth and keep rubbing this until it polishes up, or again, I'm going to use some toothpaste and cloth, and the toothpaste has grit in it. I am seeing traces of blue. I'm going to try and see if I can get this visible on the camera, which is going to involve me probably taming down this exposure a lot. It's a very high-powered flashlight. You can see the traces of blues and greens in there. So it definitely does have some blue in there, and hopefully this will be more prominent and easy to see when I actually get it polished on the surface, because right now the dullness of the surface is catching a lot of the light. So when it's polished, it should be able to shine through a lot better, but this is still my favorite thing about this piece. Under UV light, being able to see all those patterns and swirls and stuff inside of it, that's very cool to me. That piece is made very unique just by this in itself. Like it's, that is very cool. I love that. Alright, now that I've basically accomplished a very rough polish using the 800 grit sandpaper, I'm going to move on to the actual polishing. Now, I'm going to use toothpaste, like I did for my other amber video, but you technically can get away with just cloth. If you see this little segment right here, this has just been cloth polished, and you can see it still has a pretty decent shine to it. Versus this right here, which is just from the sandpaper. So this is just from rubbing this against some cloth for a while, versus this, which is just the sandpaper. Now, the easiest way I find to achieve a good surface for cloth buffing is just taking a square cloth. I just cut this out of a t-shirt, and wrapping it around a bowl like this, and then twisting and holding, which gives a nice taut surface for you to polish with. So you could just take it like this and then just cloth polish if you really wanted to, which is exactly what I did to get this edge right here as polished as possible. Or we're going to use toothpaste to speed up this process.
Hey Makoto, what are you doing? Are you drinking water and making noise so I can't record my video? You drinking water and making noise so I can't record my video? Oh, yeah? You a noisy dog? Yeah? Yeah, good boy.
Now I know you might ask, toothpaste? Really? For polishing amber? Yes, it actually works really good. The reasoning being is that toothpaste tends to have very fine grit in it, basically to polish your teeth. Not all toothpaste does. This Colgate seems to. I think a lot of times it's like silicon dioxide or something like that, but it's very, very fine, meant to polish your teeth and help get off tartar and things like that, not necessarily to grind your teeth, because that would be very bad. I can tell this toothpaste does have grit in it, because if I take a little bit of it on my finger and I rub it on the surface of my teeth, I can feel and I can hear it. It just kind of has like a very slight rubbing abrasion sound, which this will help speed up the process of polishing this up this amber by a lot. So I'm just going to take a little bit of water too, along with the toothpaste, just kind of wet it a bit. And I'm going to have to apply this many, many times through the course of the polishing process, just a little bit at a time. But I'm going to take this, probably actually use some more water on here. And probably some more toothpaste. The dogs are over there in the background making noises. And then I can just start polishing this up. And this is going to take a fair bit of time. It's not necessarily a quick process, especially if you don't use the sandpaper in order to get a rough polish going first. It's going to take a lot longer to try and get out all the scratches and things like that, but if you just keep at it, you'll get there eventually. I like kind of just doing this while I'm, like, say, watching a show or something. The dog just threw the ball down the stairs and is now going after it. I just like doing this kind of while watching a show or something, and, you know, it's not really a big deal to me. So just in that short amount of time, definitely has picked up a fairly decent polish. To me, I personally like getting it mostly polished using this toothpaste, then maybe finishing it off with just the cloth, because the cloth will tend to get more of a high sheen than the toothpaste might get up to. But yeah, I'm basically just going to do this with all sides of this and get it to a point where it's all polished. So this is going to take a bit. I'll check back in a while. As you polish the amber, you should be prepared that the cloth will eventually break down from the grit and the friction and everything. So whatever you use, you definitely should consider it sacrificial. In this case, I'm just going to simply shift the cloth over a little bit. Again, this was just an old t-shirt that already had holes in it anyways, so I just cut out a segment. And it's no big loss, but again, whatever you use here might get destroyed, so just keep that in mind. Alright, so I've spent a fair amount of time with the toothpaste now on this piece of amber. I've just been kind of doing it on and off for a while, and I think it's looking pretty good. So I'm just going to take some dish soap real quick and some water and rinse this off, and we're going to see how that leaves the piece looking. Yes, it is looking pretty good in terms of shininess and everything so far. I think we can get it a little bit higher, but let's take a look at it currently. So this is a very, very dark piece of amber. I don't know how easy it's actually going to be for me to show it on camera, but it is very, very dark. We got some lighter sections in it, like right here at this tip and stuff. You can kind of see some areas where the light shines through better. So it's very hard to kind of really see the beauty of it without doing something like this. I'm going to take this ultrafire flashlight that my friend has let me use, and we'll take a look using that. So I'm definitely going to need to turn down the exposure on this camera. If we look like this, we can see a lot more of that color, and we actually are getting that blue-green color. It's not necessarily like just straight blue amber, it's more of a bluish green hue. But we're definitely able to see it now with very, very bright light. Like direct sunlight, you might be able to see it too. I haven't had a chance to look with direct sunlight just yet because of it being winter in Michigan and kind of cloudy and everything. But that's actually, honestly, looking pretty cool, pretty unique. Anyways, we end up getting, this is again just the toothpaste and cloth. It ended up giving us a pretty good shine. But we're going to try and take it a little bit further using some more cloth and this time a little bit of beeswax. Alright, so just like before, I have my bowl. I've cleaned everything off. This is a brand new cloth, brand new, technically old cloth, but it's a cloth I didn't use with the toothpaste yet because I don't want any of the grit to be present on it. I am going to take the beeswax and I'm going to try and see if I can just kind of rub it onto the fabric, but the beeswax is very hard, so I'm probably not going to be able to do that. I get a little bit of it. So instead, so I couldn't really just rub it on directly. So instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this lighter here and sort of soften up the wax a little bit and then apply it on there. We just want to get at least a little bit there just to, as we're buffing, that it's going to pick up the wax and help work it into the grooves of the amber. You don't necessarily need a huge amount. Paraffin, technically, paraffin wax, like unscented candle wax, technically could work with this too, I believe. But I like beeswax just for a lot of reasons. I got mine from a local supplier who does beehives. So I'm going to take this piece now, and the same process as before. I'm just going to rub it on the fabric, and this beeswax should hopefully work its way into it over time. And I don't want to go too quickly because I don't necessarily want to like generate so much heat that I'm burning anything. I just want to kind of help work it into the amber again. Oh no, what have I done? Just kind of made it a smudgy mess. Just kidding. That's exactly as expected. You're going to get this sort of smudgy film that forms on the outside of it from the beeswax coating it. This is exactly as expected. Basically, we're working the beeswax into all the little micro scratches and stuff, and we are going to have to remove it now using just a regular piece of cloth, a clean cloth, not a waxy cloth. Could I by chance get that shirt fragment over there, please? So, same process, just, again, taking clean fabric, making taut, and now if you watch, you can see how smudgy that is right now, after just a very short period of time on this piece of fabric here. You'll see it polishes right back up. I might need to swap the fabric around a few times because eventually this will get like a waxy coating on it too, which means we got to constantly be using clean cloth, but by taking off that wax we get a really, really beautiful finish on it. Again, it helps take out and remove a lot of those like micro scratches that end up forming that it's just hard to get out with even just the grit from the toothpaste because they're just so fine, but you can definitely still see them. So this is just going to be a process now of me rebuffing the whole thing real quick with just some regular cloth like this, and we should be done, to be honest. I'm just doing the final last little buffing. I'm wearing gloves now because I have that beeswax on my fingers, and it's resulting in me just leaving fingerprints every time I touch the piece. Eventually that will come off of my hands, but it's going to take a little while for it to wear off. So just to keep things simple, because I want it to look as good as possible for display in the video, I want to not have that happen right now. So I just have a cloth here laying on the table, very soft cloth, and I'm just doing the last little bit of buffing out of that beeswax. So we should actually be ready here in just a minute. I can definitely see though that the transparency has increased a lot since that beeswax coating, and it's looking really good. So hopefully this will show up even a fraction as well on camera as it is in person, because in person it actually turned into being a very, very stunning piece of amber. You can see all of the different swirls. You can see the combination of sort of the browner, darker amber pieces and the sort of greenish blue segments. It has that shimmering like right there that's almost like gold looking inside of it. It's very impressive. I'm actually very happy because, truth be told, when I first had this piece, I had no idea if I was actually going to get anything usable out of it, which is quite a daunting endeavor, because if I decide to try and make a video on this and then I completely fail, that's several days just wasted. But as you can see, like this side right here is absolutely gorgeous. I love that. I'll try and get some better photos that will show it off, you know, in greater detail. But yeah, this actually turned into being a really nice piece of amber. Thank you very much for sending this, Miles. I appreciate it. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's so cool. It's almost like almost reminds me of like opal there. We're getting some of that like different sort of iridescent effect. Even turning it like that, just it changes color almost. Very, very cool. And still, my favorite aspect of this definitely has to be its UV reactivity, because as soon as you hit it with the UV light, you get to see all of those swirls in action. I'm just going to shine it with this flashlight from the top real quick, just see if I can get any better demonstration of the yeah. So again, you can see that it's like really quite actually stunning with the different colors and contrasts and stuff that's inside of the piece. Especially this side again is very almost like opal. Very cool. But yeah, if you shine it from underneath, you can see the very amber color to it. It's definitely a piece of amber, no doubt about it. It's a very unique piece, no doubt about that either. It's very interesting because without any of the light, it's so dark it almost looks like it's like a piece of like polished onyx with like, you know, some lighter colors like this mixed in some areas, but it really is almost black in lesser light, which is cool in itself. But yeah, once again, very clearly just really dark amber. Yeah, and this is it under the UV light again. One of my favorite features about this piece is that it just has such unique designs under the UV light, all those swirls and things like that, being able to see all the different layers. And it really shows up now that it's polished too. Anyways guys, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to leave a like, to comment, and to subscribe if you haven't already. Keep in mind that this video did take me about 3 days just to polish this piece of amber. It's not that I was working on the amber the entire time, but it still was a very time-consuming process. And anything is appreciated, once again, like a like or something like that. Or if you want to do a little bit more, you can support me on Patreon. It helps buy supplies to make videos like this and other videos. Thank you very much already to my Patreon supporters that I currently have. I really appreciate it, and there's a lot of stuff I couldn't do without your guys' support. So if you would be interested in also supporting on Patreon, please check out the link in the description below the video. And also there'll be a link down there for a few items I used in the video, such as the sandpaper and things like that, that if you do buy using those links, it will help support the channel through a kickback. Nothing costs anything more to you, it just simply gives us a little bit of a bonus as an affiliate, air quotations. Thank you guys very much for watching, and bye!